Yate, mabuhay, aloha, hola, greetings, my relatives, worldwide tribe. My name is Bear. Welcome to today's episode, episode 22, Medicine Tribe Television. Real medicine, where we discuss all things of good medicine perspectives. Welcome. Come on in, everyone. Join us, won't you? Thanks for tuning in. And I'm eating strawberries today because I haven't eaten lunch yet. My special guest today is very dear to my heart. He is my adopted father. He is a indigenous man, Lakota. He is a ceremony man. He's a I think Siri thought I was talking to her. That was weird. He is a veteran. He is a businessman. He is well, I'll let him speak for himself. That was my introduction done. So, I give this moment in a good way. I'm excited to talk to Uncle Doug Goodfeather. Let's bring him. Hey, Pops, I sent you a request. It says waiting for you. Waiting for the good feather. It says on here. Hi, guys. Gals. Y'alls. These strawberries are bomb. All right. I'll send it in again. Here you go. Shout out to my boy Iquaz. Hey, Papa. Yeah.
Sorry about that.
Oh, it's all good.
How's everybody doing out there?
Hey,
How are you, son?
I'm good, Dad.
Good.
Thank you for taking a moment to chat with me and to all of our friends online today. And it's good to see you. You look handsome.
Yeah, it's good to be a part of this. Be a part of this and to share, It's really
It's been an interesting experience, doing this since quarantine, and it has sort of taken on a life of its own. I was kind of wanted to have an informal experience, with my friends and relatives to hear, how they were doing during quarantine and get sort of a big picture or, spiritual wisdoms and, about, the moment in time from their perspectives. And of course, as the world has continued to change so quickly before our eyes, and we find ourselves in this interesting, fascinating, painful moment. This past couple weeks has already just leveled up in a big way where we're like diving into this thing. And so I'm really excited to talk to you today because as an elder, as a person in my life that has been so instrumental to my own ceremonial practices, to my own spiritual road. You have so much wisdom as being somebody that's really lived a full life, and it continues to live a full life as a Native man, as a spiritual teacher, as a ceremony person, and I guess I just am blabbing now because I'm like thinking about how cool you are, but I'm also thinking and all the funny time and all the amazing, like beautiful, deep, and hilarious times we've had. And I guess I want to start off today just asking you how your heart is and how that is.
Mm. Well, koke a wopila chiche. Wiaka washte milo. Apetuki iuha chante washte. First of all, my name is Doug Goodfeather. I want to say thank you for inviting me on here, son. Nahko, to come on here and just share a little bit about my experience about, the things that we're all going through. And for my own self experiences is, one of the things about when you first going into quarantine, when you see this stuff coming or know it's coming, it's first it's a wonder what's going to happen, and then you start seeing the things that are happening to people that are dying and people are getting sick and
Mm-hmm.
going through all this challenges and all of these things, and we're all going into quarantine. It's like for my own experiences, as a veteran, and you getting ready for combat, and the fears and the wonder if you're going to come back alive. That's, and then the anxieties and all the things that go around with, I guess, preparing for death.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes, a lot of warriors have done that, but this is what I experienced. It was like more of a flashback. But one of the things that was different about it was that, in combat, around you, you can hide from things, but this is inside you. You can't hide from it.
Mm-hmm.
And so it really puts a mental strain on you. And not only that, the physical. So it puts, it brings up a lot of fear.
Mm-hmm.
And so going into quarantine, we went into quarantine and we were there for a month, and then we got exposed to construction workers coming in and out of our apartment building.
Mm-hmm.
And so we ended up contracting COVID. I don't know if it was from there, but I don't know how it came in, but we were so cautious and all of that stuff, and I was so practicing it so much, but it came in and we got it anyway.
Mm.
So I prepared for that as well, and just a lot of things that I've witnessed from my past came again and rewoken me and made me like rattled my cage, and you got to get up and do more. You got to evolve more, and that's how I evolved in my life. And there's always a challenge that came to help me evolve from where I was standing dormant and help me to grow. And just like now, it's something has come that challenges all of us, and not only together collectively, but as an individual, as a person, to challenge us how we can do better for ourselves and each other. Because no matter what we do, we can't move unless we move this whole systematic, out of the way and have free will take over, and we move forward together and to grow that way. Because this is what I've learned from this past sitting and thinking, and wonder and fear and knowing loved ones have passed, friends passed, things like that. And then, coming through it and grateful that it was mild, but still, it feared me. And I even prepared, wrote my will. I got everything ready, and I was okay for that part. But the physical part was the hardest part. Is always the what this body goes through, what this mind goes through, in this life, and how it challenges us. But also that is something that I learned too about the human spirit, and growing through something so hard, and learning what that is and how to use that as medicine. Like, our challenges are become medicine for others, and it's amazing. It sucks going through it at first,
Yeah.
but when you bring it out and present it to and make it into good medicine, and it really has a lot of compassion and teaching in it. And so, seeing everybody coming together, that's what's happening, and the challenges of our own comforts, shaking out of that comfort zone that we're so used to, and when you're shaken out of it because it's unnatural to others. And so when you realize you're seeing and feeling the people that are being oppressed, and you're feeling their feelings, then naturally you're gonna either defend yourself or be sympathetic or empathetic, and you're gonna start to heal with them, or you're gonna go against the grain and struggle
Mm.
until you come to your own conclusions of healing or how that is. And so those are the things that I've learned in this time of quarantine, and listening and learning from everybody's perspective and all their own experiences is so amazing. It's fascinating, but it's scary at the same time. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, there's so many things I want to ask you about in response to that, but I'm wondering, in your conversations with people and within your own self, I feel like the concept of truth and what truth is, you know, as I guess it's two parts. It's what have you observed within people in those conversations regarding truth and what their perspective and perception of truth is, um, uh, which ties into the second part of it, which looks like, you know, I feel like, you know, we had the COVID, and now we have, you know, BLM, and there's, you know, I feel like I was thinking about this morning, and I think there's a lot of folks who are just now this year literally peeling back with the first layer of the veil, and and it's a brutally disturbing veil first layer for them because it's really confronting, and I wonder if you would agree that, or if you have anything to add to that, being um, that there are seemingly unending levels of peeling back of the layers of truth and revealing, um, uh, I suppose, the ultimate truth, and revealing the rawness of who we are, why we're here, and what we're meant to be here for. Can you add anything to that?
Um, well, you know, the way when you walk I guess, in a spiritual manner and live by that that kind of free will, it there's nothing but truth. Like nature, it doesn't lie to you.
Right.
Or pure truth, fire. You know, it's going to burn you. It's not. You know, it doesn't lie. That's pure truth,
Mm,
and it's at the same time it's pure innocence
mm,
too.
mm,
And so I think a lot of times a lot of these people who are getting peeling back a lot of things that have been taught systematically,
mm-hmm,
and that's the innocence a part of it. But when you go sort of things that happen and getting burned, that's the I guess the rawness that comes from that, you know, from that teaching, because people don't realize what they're doing,
mm,
because it's like a meme I read. There's a little town in the middle of nowhere, and
mm-hmm,
there's 3,000 white people, and they come out and they said, "Oh, I don't see no racism. You never experienced it." It's like that, you know.
mm-hmm,
And there's no truth. I mean, they for themselves, they see truth for them, but when they come out, they see the real truth.
mm,
And sometimes that burns them, like, oh, and then they don't like it. People don't like that, you know, to be uncomfortable with that.
mm-hmm,
And so that's why when people come to learn, like when we go into the sweat lodge, there's nothing but pure truth. You know, it confronts you. Everything confronts you. And And that's why there has to be a good teacher that guides you through that, those four doors that to bring you through that truth. And at the end, it becomes self-actualization to learn that. And so you got to go through it. So it's going to take time. It's gradual. It's not going to happen overnight. But what has to happen now is what we're doing. People have to hear our rage. People have to feel our pain
mm,
so they can, you know, so we can change.
mm-hmm,
Because if they don't, then it's not going to change. It's just going to be bits and bits like before, you know, a little bit. Oh, well, we'll wait till they calm down. So a lot of times that happens, and it's like a Band-Aid getting put back on. So this time it feels like the Band-Aid's ripped off, so we got to keep it off
Mm-hmm.
and let that wound heal. And it's going to take time for that wound to heal. But at the same time, we can educate, and we need people, white people, European descent people, to educate each other, talk to each other, their children, to educate like this, because it involves all of us, humanity. We need each other no matter what, because if we don't see that, then we're always going to have war, always going to fight, we're always going to go through these depressions, and people are always going to be sick, and these things are always going to come up until we start learning to evolve and grow and to be better human beings. Even
Mm-hmm.
then, there'll always be challenges, which helps us to grow and evolve to be better people.
Mm-hmm.
And to know that truth is so necessary for our children.
Mm-hmm.
We have to live it, role model it.
I wonder what your thoughts are on how you observe these police tactics as a veteran, as you were trained for combat in warfare, where you see these police officers and these police forces, with military gear, pointing their guns at people, and this very clear, militarized appearance and feeling, and you know, post 9/11, obviously lots of things that have to do with that. But I'm wondering, yeah, I guess like where your mind goes when you observe this escalation over the last 10, 15 years, and specifically quite visually since Ferguson, or even before that, but like very much so has been documented in the last 5 or 10 years. um, and yeah, I guess, and what the difference would be, if you can explain it to folks, because I think there's a very clear difference between protecting as a soldier and protecting as a guardian police officer of a city and a county and a neighborhood.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, it all depends on training and orders, and how those training are taught to people, because you're taught to do the right thing and you're taught not to do the right thing. So in combat, and when I was in combat, what I've experienced is that we went by the Geneva Convention.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not saying everybody went by that, but for my morals and compass that guided me is one of the reasons why I joined the military. And it took me a while to really think about it. And a lot of my grandmas and my grandpas were against it. They didn't want me to join.
Mm.
But I had this passion, and me, what I've learned growing up is that rite of passage.
Mm.
And so that's one of the rite of passage that I wanted to fulfill for myself.
Mm.
So I made I was making a decision. There was all kinds of reasons to join the military for myself.
Sure.
But I made a prayer, and one of the prayers I made was I needed something, a signal or sign, to know this was the right thing. But I needed a sign in my heart to know that. And so I started driving, and as I was driving, I heard all these little kids, they're preschool little kids, playing in this playground, and they're all playing and laughing, and they're all just having a good time. And that's when it hit. That's the answer struck my heart.
Mm.
And that's when I decided to join the military. And so before I joined it, my grandma told me all the reasons, and the reasons why I should be joining,
Mm-hmm.
but why I shouldn't be joining too. And whatever comes up, remember that you made that decision to do that, to take responsibility for those decisions. So that was one of the most important things that she told me, and to always remember that, to reciprocate, because those are going to come back.
Mm.
So when I went into the military, I didn't know. I prayed about it, not if I wasn't going to come back. But when we went in to the military, when we went into the combat zone, um, one of the things that we did was we always um, uh, cleared areas. So we made sure that we took care of people that we thought that might be a threat to us.
Right.
But there was always a code that we lived by, because we knew when we went over there that it wasn't a just war.
Mm-hmm.
So I feel for myself, it wasn't honorable for me to be in that war. I wasn't honored. But as a veteran to serve this country, I'm honored to be a veteran.
Mm.
But that war, I'm not honored because of the way it was created for, and we knew why we were there, and so we decided that we're going to fight for each other to come home, and so in that way, in that decision that we made, we knew that these people were innocent. These are innocent people and they all reminded me of my own people. So we really, for my moral, I went by for that understanding so I don't come back guilty. I didn't want to come back guilty. So when I came back, I seen the way in Standing Rock, how people were being militarized by the police and the way they were geared up. When we went to Iraq, we didn't even have that equipment sent to us yet. We were wearing Vietnam-style flak jackets in the beginning. Wow. They weren't bulletproof. So it took time. We were using the old radios and SINGARs, and we weren't advanced, and we're in combat. So these are the things that, you know, I've witnessed. And coming back here, you've seen that police were so advanced in their tactics and their gear, and so it's a different here. It's different because there's a different protection guarding the police, and they know that, and so they live by that. And plus, they live by a code of together, not always taking care of. But at the same time, that what happened, what's going on, by being that kind of police, it has created this big what's going on, in which it needs to be. It has to be.
Right.
It has to happen, and so those are the things that I've learned. And so the police tactics are way aggressive, way too aggressive, too deadly. I'm afraid for my own life too when I get pulled over, and if I take a wrong turn down the street, and get called on. So, I'm a brown guy cruising around, and you never know, so. I don't, I'm always worried about those things too. So, but that's what I witnessed, and that's what I'm seeing in that way. There's a different mentality today because of the leadership that has come into play, supposedly leadership that has taken a different mentality, I guess you can say. And that's the strategy I see is they're at war for their minds now, for our minds. So.
I just thought of a really, you're great at metaphors. You're great at speaking of metaphors. And I just thought of a really bad metaphor that I'm going to just throw out here because it might make you laugh. I feel like white supremacy is like this zit, right? On this, like, the skin of the planet, what have you, right? And like we got to pop this thing out so that it can show its like ugliness of this unnecessary, oppressive way of thinking that there is this like greater than race that has, never gone away since colonization. It's just put on different masks and has created different systems to guard itself and has put, these titles and office names and like, all these things, this jargon that sort of is meant to, redirect you and only enforce the illusion that that you are in control, and that you are free people and that you are you have rights, and all these things. And that's the end of my metaphor. That's horrible. And so you gotta pop it out so it can be seen, so that it can heal. This is the worst metaphor ever, Dad. I'm really sorry. I just thought it was funny in that second. But I feel as though, there are so many. There's going to be so much confronting work ahead of us, and And, you know, when I think about, you know, the dismantling of our education system and how we teach our children, the dismantling of, you know, all of these systems within this broader picture. And what have you seen in your own community work, in resilience, in the community resiliency? Because I wrote this whole paragraph today and posted it with some artwork that I'd made. And part of like that whole post that I made today was specifically to speak to, you know, Black, Indigenous, and peoples of color within the context that within our own communities, we have to reframe how we communicate, how we build relationships, how we show and organize our solidarity. And I wonder if you have any thoughts towards to share for folks today regarding that kind of work, because I feel like the community that I've witnessed you be involved in, the community that I've witnessed you speak of or be, you know, be parts of in that sense, there is so much power in the community. I'm just curious because I feel like it's going to be up to the communities that we live in and work with to keep ourselves accountable, to be creating the new systems, to be bringing the right folks at a local, state level to push up this new way of thinking so that it doesn't come from the top down. It has to come from the bottom up.
Yes. From the inside out. Yes. That's a good metaphor. You know, one of the things I wanted to mention too was when you were talking about white supremacy, you know, when I was in the military, there was a sergeant in there that was, he grew up that way. Mm. And I knew that he was like that. So I kept trying to befriend him. And finally we started to talk, and, you know, we did a couple of missions together, and we realized as we were experiencing these things going together through this zone, he realized, you know, we're not anything different. He witnessed that from each other's reaction from our friendship. And you know, there was times where, you know, we were standing where the wall got shot up, and if we didn't move, it would have shot us up, you know. So we witnessed those things together. He realized, you know, and then he started to tell me about his life and how he was created to hate people. He was made to hate people, and how his parents and dad abused him to hate people. Wow. And it was a lot of beatings, a lot of verbal abuse, a lot of propaganda, you know, and that's how he learned it. And he realized our friendship was real. It was real because it came raw. And that's one of the things I wanted to talk about too, is are people strong enough to be our friends yet? Or when we speak the truth, are you strong enough to be my friend yet? When I speak the truth, is it going to affect you? Is it going to hurt you? It's going to hurt your feelings? I hope so. So then you'll have humility, humbleness, and then you'll realize pride. And it's truth. And then you grow from that, you know, like inside out. We always grow from pain first sometimes. And like you said before, you were born through pain. You know, we're born through for our mothers. We're born through that. And so that's one of the things that I've witnessed and going through that. And so what I've learned, like I seen you having Tescott on the other day. And, yeah. You know, that young man is, you know, we need to get more involved with youth like that. All youth to start speaking to each other and to create. And you know, that movement is so powerful. Right now, our movement all over the world and country is really important to educate what we need to change and the intelligence of the systematic oppressions that are in all the jobs and education and the military and the police force, and how that intelligence seeps in there and controls it, you know, through its system, you know, through that hate, you know, and to keep people under control, because people are afraid to speak up because they don't want to be shamed. of their own. But at the same time, you're seeing everybody else being hurt by what's going on. So that's what I think we know we need to move into politics now. We all need to get into politics. People that of color need to get into politics. Youth get into politics. We need to spread this in a good vibe, in a good way, to create a powerful movement to keep this momentum going. Because we can't lose momentum. We got to keep it moving. Because if we do, then that's when the intelligence sneaks in.
Mm-hmm.
Because right now we're vigilant. We're looking out. We're watching everything. We're starting to see things, and we're watching. We're pulling out secrets. Secrets are coming out. Under the table and everything. So that's how vigilant we are. And this is what had to happen, was a powerful death, and for George Floyd to be the one to create that. I want to thank him for that.
Mm-hmm.
And I know it's hard, for his loss and his family. I pray for them and wish peace upon them. But, sometimes that has to happen. A powerful shock and awe has to happen to wake us up, to move us,
Mm-hmm.
And like we go through ceremony, we learn spirituality throughout our life, or however you pray or meditate. We learn it throughout our life, and it takes time. But at this time, it was just a crash course of spirituality, of that awakening, and people couldn't handle it because it really showed the truth. It really popped the truth out of everybody, and that's a shock and awe in itself.
Right.
And people really had to see themselves and open those doors, and all those skeletons starts coming out and falling out. We got to get rid of that. We
Mm-hmm.
got to get rid of that so we can evolve and move forward with each other. Because if we don't, that closet's gonna, it's gonna be bulging out, and
Mm-hmm.
finally, it has broken. So we got to fix it now.
I saw a meme or something the other day that said, to be Black, Indigenous, or a person of color is to live a political life, because our own existence is political. And that brought up this thought in me of just like how a lot of times I've had people tell me to keep my mouth shut, to like not talk about racism, to not talk about the oppression of our cultures and of our peoples, because it felt divisive for them. Those folks were white, and I always thought like that was the dumbest thing I'd ever heard. Anybody tell me? It's more than just having a platform. It's that I have an opinion, and my opinion matters just as much as my fellow BIPOCs in that context. And in the heart of things, like, you have such a big heart, and I've always just admired that, because I could fire off questions to you, or I could watch you be in a communicable experience and dialogue with somebody to look at a place where you could be triggered into saying something that might feel more aggressive, etc., from you. But I feel like one of the magical things about you that I've witnessed is that you always tend to be able to open your arms, both with your voice and your physical arms, and welcome everyone in. And one of the first man that elder that brought me into a sweat lodge, Dancing Hawk. He's here in Oregon, and he set the course for me, to which when I found you, or when we found each other, you embodied that and continued that message to me, which was this ever-present accepting of the rainbow bridge, if you will, that speaks to the inclusivity just as much as it speaks to your own self preservation and solidarity of who you are in your indigeneity. And that's a very tricky, balance to have and live in a world that doesn't necessarily want you there. And so because you're meant to be like, okay, everyone, yes, but also just me and just us too, but like everyone. And so you have to live in this balance. And so my question I wanted to ask you, because I think there's good medicine in what you could offer here, is that, do you feel as though part of the reason that you have learned this, um, this willingness to build a bridge, to uh, to be inclusive, is because knowing that, and this is from me, knowing that we both were, you know, uh, given away by our mothers, and that we had to overcome this unusual, experience of being abandoned in a sense, um, and through our struggles discovered how to, or discovered the process of loving oneself, and therefore we're able to open into this other ultimate space of loving everyone. Does that tie into the heart that you have for all peoples, the heart that you have for what you do? And yeah, I don't know. That's a long sentence question. I yield my time.
Well, one of the things that I've learned and I've watched and witnessed is always people's tears, you know, and people's tears, it always comes from their eyes. And when you see that, you relate to it. You relate to it because you have tears coming from your eyes when you cry. So when you see somebody crying, there's something going on, and you relate to it, and you can feel it. You can literally feel that energy when you see somebody crying,
Mm-hmm.
and even hear it. If you hear somebody crying, it's like it's sometimes it's scary to hear. And so when you see these things and witness these things, for me, I carry these as reminders of myself and how to be compassionate. And these are the things that teach me. These are, for me, these are philosophers, these tears, the fire, they teach me things. So I watch them. I look at them and learn and study them and learn from them. And it helps me guide me. It guides me. And we're all going through a transformation somehow, sometime in our lives, even though we think we have it um, made or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Something's going to come and rattle our cage, personally or collectively. And so, for myself, I always, as a helper, as a creator's helper, when people come or when I witness these things, the first thing for me is to have compassion and pray for them. Mm-hmm. If I drive by our car crash, I pray for them. I pray that they're okay and that everything's okay. Things like that, So, so one of the things I witnessed when I was in a sweat lodge, there was a white man in there, and he was crying and he was saying, I'm so grateful for the way this way of life has treated me and accepted me and loved me and gave me nothing but respect and honor. And I feel bad. I feel bad that my people have destructed and killed and did all these things to your people. And in my witness, what I saw was the spirit going over to him. And when this grandpa went over to him, and touched him, and my recognition and understanding was that the spirit said, I only see your light. I don't see the color of your skin. I see your light. Mm-hmm. And so when you go into Sweat Lodge, there's no color in there. We are all one in there. We become mm-hmm. one. And that's the womb of which our Mother Earth we come from. And so when we witness these things, when we witness all these things, when these people are misunderstanding or waking up and going through this, you see that they're coming out of ignorance and something that's they're not used to. But when they feel it here, see, they know it here, but they didn't feel it here. Mm. So now people are making a journey, the mind to the heart, and they're starting to feel it. So it's waking everybody up, and so that's where I start to see, the Black Lives Matter all people, Native Americans, indigenous, everybody starting to wake up and, starting to get up and, voice their pain and scream it and yell it and, march and protest, and people are starting to recognize what's going on, and and it has to be shaken up. And even though that this administration right now is in control, if this didn't come in, if this administration didn't come in, this is my own belief and my own thought, is that if it didn't, this still stuff would have been still underlined.
Yeah.
And this had to happen for us to change. We have to evolve, and we have to come. And sometimes when balance comes, it's uncomfortable. It's uncomfortable for people. So you relate with that, but you educate at the same time. People have to hear our pain. People have to understand that somehow, some way they have to understand it so they can learn. Because a lot of times we're trying to teach you by teaching, like Colin Kaepernick, silently protesting, people just marching silently, but it's not working. So now we have to yell and scream. Now you hear us. Now you see this.
Right.
Now you feel it, and people are feeling it. So for myself, when people come to me, whether they're white, black, yellow, red, they come to me, I can't be a difference. I can't be biased. I have to be a balance. I have to, because that's the way that this way carries me. This spiritual way carries me. You got to see that. You got to see the truth in it. It's just like science, science, and that's why I really understand that kind of connection, because I understand how it connects. And so, when people come, and you have to bring them through, because you learn that they're no different than you.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of times it's just the color of your skin that are the difference. We're all butterflies, different colors in different ways, and we come through that transformation, that caterpillar into a butterfly. Somehow, somewhere we're going to do it. So, we have to start to learn to understand that kind of compassion for each other as human beings. If that makes sense. I hope it did.
Yeah, for sure. Oh. Now, Dad, I know you're a mystical motherfunky. And I wanted to ask you a mystical question.
Okay.
Maybe this isn't mystical. Maybe this is just more like transdimensional. I am a big believer in all of our other dimensional species and relatives that may or may not live on the planet or off planet. I'm sure there's both. You and I have dug into some of those things. I wonder what your interpretation of the current moment and how that relates to our star relatives. And because this is what I keep thinking. I think 2020 can only get crazier. And, my Aquarius mind, wants to believe that there's going to be, a grand entry, or, some kind of like ultimate other veil that I feel like me and you are like ready to like witness. Mm-hmm. And I don't know, what are your thoughts on that? Like, and you can keep it short, you can keep it long, whatever you want to say.
Well, I believe we have two awakenings in our life, whether it's spiritual or cosmic. And whatever comes first, it's either spiritual. For me, it's spiritual awakening, and then a cosmic, where it's science and all the math and astrology and all of that stuff that comes in from there. Yeah. And what I see and I believe and I've learned is that what connects us is the quantum that connects us like that.
Yep.
And that's the filter, and that's how we can create communications from this side to the other side. And also, the things that have been studied and found today, and the things that and as far as we came so fast as intelligent people, human beings, as far as we came through a time without thinking about coming through that time because we left a bunch of destruction. We polluted the world with it. So now this is a time for change to create a different field of science that is clean and good for not only Mother Earth, but ourselves, air, our water, food, our children, So these are the things that we start to have to start thinking about and evolving in. And with that, there has to, the intelligence of this universe. I mean, if you see the galaxies, the millions of galaxies out there in the universe, and you think, there's intelligence out there in that way, and you realize all of that created somehow by some intelligent, a greater power than anything that created all that. To think to create you or me is something that's fascinating for me, and that's what brings science into my life, was those things like that. And the communication, because when I was a little boy, one of my great-grandpas who was blind and my other great-grandpa, they used to always together. And we were sitting by the fire, and my grandpa started, singing the other one, and the other one started telling the story. And he said, "Grandson," he said, "look at the stars." And they couldn't speak English very well, so it was all I put them. He said, "Look at the stars." He said, "Those are our relatives," he said. "And all these planets," he said, "they talk to our Mother Earth. They talk to each other, and they communicate." And he said, "If you look on the Earth," he said, on Mother Earth, she has a spirit, and you can see her glow. You can see her glow like that. And if you understand why I'm saying this, is because they protect us. The other planets protect us. So I was just a little boy fascinated with this, and he would point to different constellations, but he was blind. So I'd always go like this to him. I was like, "Are you?" But he was blind, but he would point. And so I would witness these things growing up. And when I started going to college, I was in astrology class, and I was sitting by a classmate, and they were showing this documentary of Earth. And they showed the Earth, and you can see the aura around Mother Earth. And it was so fascinating, and I can actually literally feel the power and emotion from her. And then they started talking about the planets and all of the other planets. And the professor said, if you turn your radio, if you go out in the boonies and just drive and turn your radio to AM, you can hear the static from other planets. And that hit me right away. It took me back to when my grandpa was telling me that they talk to each other. And that's what it reminded me of, that he knew that back then, that they talk to each other. And the professor are talking about all these gravity pulls that these planets have to shoot back the asteroids and the rest of the trash out there that goes the other way. It pulls it and shoots it back into space. And that's how I realize it's protecting us. Those planets are protecting our Mother Earth, and it's scientifically proven as well. So these are the things I've learned growing up through that kind of teaching, through the science and the intelligence our grandpas and grandmas had back then. And knowing that these beings that come from other places, their star people they've been coming for thousands of years. And I believe it because of the intelligence that this universe has. And we have already, but we're stuck. I guess right now, I feel like we're stuck, even though we have so much to give. And so those are the things that I've learned from that kind of, and witnessing these stories and witnessing them as they told them. And some people, you can tell these stories, and some people will say, "Oh, come on, is that real? Is that real?" And then I'll tell a story too, Okay, well, let me just ask you something, in a good way, because you're questioning me. So let me ask you something. And he said, "Yeah." I said, "Do you believe that Jesus was born from a virgin?" And she said, "Yeah, yeah." And I said, "Oh, come on, you think that's real?" And they get so mad at me. "Yeah, what are you talking? You're challenging me, my beliefs." And that's something that's what I've learned to learn to challenge and to know the truth, and waking people up and to understand where we have to go. We have to go forward, and we're stuck. We're here fighting each other, but it has to be resolved. It has to be resolved here in this situation, and we have to use the intelligence that we have through these teachings of our ancestors and through science. And the witnessing, the things that I've witnessed growing up and recently is, I don't know how to explain some of these things because some way you get judged, and I'm like, wow. And one of the things that I've learned from moving one place to another was I always witnessed these two owls that lived over by where I used to live. It was about 30 miles from here. These two owls used to live right outside my house there. And then they would, when I come home, they would be sitting right there all the time. And in a Lakota way, a lot of Lakotas and natives are, it's one of their omens is that the owl brings that message of death. But at the same time, you learn the other things it brings, and that metaphor and that kind of teaching, that philosophy. And so when I moved here to this apartment, about a week later, these two owls landed on my fence. The same ones that lived where I used to live came here. And so when I witness those kind of things like that, it blows me away. It's unexplainable.
Wait, so you're saying that the two owls that were at your other house followed you to your new house?
Yeah.
Whoa.
And they still come and they sit outside the house and do their thing. But I've learned more now from that kind of experiences because I can relate I can explain how I relate what I learned from it. But that kind of teaching of that kind of relative that taught me that it's also a rejuvenation of life. It's also
I was just going to say that. Yeah.
Regeneration, a new beginning. And as you see, what I witnessed of this COVID, what I've witnessed too is that there's a lot of babies being born. And a lot of people have passed, but a lot of babies have been born. And what I've witnessed too is when the old people would say, when you see a lot of falling stars, you see a lot of babies going to be born. And that's one of the teachings I've learned.
Interesting.
And, yeah. So, and we kind of went through that just recently too.
I've seen the most shooting stars during this quarantine period than I have ever, I think, in a long time.
Yeah.
But it's interesting when you say, because as the belief goes in the Lakota way to the death part of the owl symbolism, but the death is always coming, but it's nothing ever really dies. You're born again.
Yeah, it has been changed though. It's been changed to fear us. It's been made to make us fear death. And when we were always taught the philosophy of rejuvenation, of recycle, the universe never wastes nothing. The Creator don't waste nothing. We're recycled somehow, either in this dimension, we might go to a different dimension. I don't know, go to a different universe, whatever, I don't know. Until I get there, I'll remember. I'll wake up,
You're going to call me, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll call you.
Yeah. Drop me a pin.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh man. Well, obviously I could sit and talk about star stuff with you all day.
Yeah.
But I want to wrap it up and just say that really appreciate your taking the time today to share all these wisdoms you have brought. I think a lot for folks to listen to today, as well as me, and just like getting to dive into some of those stories that you have to share. And I feel blessed because whenever we talk, I get this all the time, and so it's beautiful to get to share that kind of camaraderie and conversation between us that we have with our friends today. So
you gotta tell them I scolded you too.
What's that?
I said you gotta tell them I scolded you too.
Oh yeah, well you tell them.
I also wanted to mention that in November I got a book coming out called Think Indigenous, and that will be out in November. So
I gotta write you a song for that book.
Yeah, and we recently purchased some land for the program for our nonprofit organization, so we're going to start building up from there as
Can you tell us
well.
what the program is called?
It's called the Healing Hoop, as well as Lakota Way Healing Center. Doing business as Lakota Way Healing Center is we're going to do rites of passage programs there, and treatment centers, meditation, rites, fourth door programs, self-actualization, those kind of things, and the mind, the heart, the body, understanding how to, connect with that spiritual
And this is all in
concept.
Colorado, right?
Yeah. And also got a new design coming out on Faraday brand
Mm.
and the blanket. So those help our programs continue to go and grow.
I'm listening. I'm just going to show him the blanket.
Yeah. Yeah. So, those things help us to help people. We helped a lot of people, even this time of quarantine. Yeah, we got a new design. I can't show you though. Man, it's wicked. Woo!
These
Really nice.
blankets by Faraday brand in collaboration with Uncle Doug are available at Faraday. And then, as he's saying, he's putting together a new one. It's coming out soon. So let's see. There was a couple things there, and I just want to make sure that I provide this information after this chat with you. Is that Uncle Doug's got a book coming out called Think Indigenous. It's coming out this fall. Is that correct?
Yeah, November.
And that can be found on, is it the
Hey
website?
Hey House, lakotaway.org.
lakotaway.org. So
Yeah.
I'll share that link. I'll share the link for that after this call, but I'll also, I suppose that the center that is being designed and built I'm sure there'll be more information to find in later months, right? Yeah.
We do a grand opening. We come and do a show.
Yeah, I'm coming. I'm gonna be there. I'm gonna be like sleeping on the floor. I'm like,
yeah, you
telling them I gotta bring my hammer and my saw, bring my chainsaw.
Yes.
Okay, and then I'll post the Faraday brand as well, so people can check out where to get those blankets from as well.
Okay.
Which supports the Lakota Healing Way.
Yeah, and they can also go to the website and donate if you choose to. That'd
Fantastic.
be great.
Yeah. Well, Dad, good medicine.
That's good.
Yeah.
That's good.
Yeah, that was good.
Hope everybody that's listening got some good advice or wisdom.
Yeah.
And it made sense.
Yeah, absolutely. And for you too to share, if everyone can watch this episode again on IGTV directly after we hang up. So, Wopila, Womatun, thanks, Papa. I love you so much. And
I love you too.
We'll talk to you soon.
Take care of yourself. See you, son.
Woo! Always good. Hi, Michiel. Always good to chat with my Hanai, Papa Doug Goodfeather. For those of you who were not able to be a part of our album release, what's up, Max? Miss you, bro. For those of you that weren't able to be a part of our album release party on the 15th that we did, you can actually watch it on YouTube. It's on YouTube now. But Uncle Doug was able to be there and share his influence on the album itself. He has, along with many of my elders, has been very influential in bringing these, truths, and then they'll come to me, and then it'll somehow end up in these songs, So it's a beautiful relationship there. Interestingly enough, Auntie Pua and Uncle Doug are both Pisces. Gotta love the water people. But yeah, we were sitting right over there at the fire talking about fourth door, and is what it is. The coyote, my vulture, song medicine. Big stuff, yo. Big stuff. Oh yeah. I feel really good right now. That felt really empowering. Uncle Doug always has a way of his presence that just makes you feel calm and collected. And so big thank yous to Uncle Doug, to my Hanai. And thank you all for tuning in today. Big ups to all my Pride people, to all of alls, to our community. It is Pride Month, let's not forget that. And I think somebody on here actually was the person that gave this to me, which is great, because thanks so much. I was deciding what I was going to wear today, and I saw it hanging there, and I was like, well, it's perfect. It's the perfect month for wear it. All right. If you guys haven't read my last post, I encourage you to go read it. I spent like 3 hours this morning writing it up. I made the artwork myself, and it's just a timepiece to read into and to check out. What else? I'll see you for Sunday service. I will post the links in regards to the websites Uncle Doug was talking about. And as usual, you can rewatch these episodes on my IGTV. One thing I just want to remind everybody that, even though we have this like so-called election coming up, and I know a lot of folks are pretty torn about what to do, because clearly, our two choices are not ideal, and in general, a two-party system is not, I think, where the future is going to put us. However, I think more importantly are our local elections, because as we were speaking about, ground up is I think this where it has to begin. And so therefore I really encourage everybody to take the time to learn about their local officials, look into who's up for election, and just take some time to consider who you want to be representing your communities, and spend some time looking at your city budgets. Look at who the fuck's going to be your, like someone just said here, who's going to be your sheriff, who's going to be, you know what I'm saying, like who's going to be your city commissioner, who's going to be like whatever. Also look at the budgets and look at like how much spending they're doing on policing and law enforcement, whatever. These are things that you can go to the meetings, you can go to these public buildings and be a part of these public meetings, etc. So if you got the time, get involved. If you don't, there's other ways. And what else? It takes time, and we don't have a lot of time when the crisis of our climate is here now. So we gotta get our shit together, folks. All right, my loves. Have a blessed Thursday, June 11th. It's my brother's birthday today. And stay vigilant. See you for Sunday service. Bomatum.